let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly safe being yourself without the pressure to explain, defend, or share everything? Because here's the truth. The moment you give too many people access to your private world, you hand them the map to your power. You see, privacy isn't secrecy. Privacy is protection. We live in a world that worships exposure, where people overshare their dreams, their pain, their relationships, all for validation. But every time you reveal too much, you invite opinions that have no right to shape your life, and slowly you start editing yourself for an audience that doesn't even care. Power doesn't live in noise. It lives in quiet confidence. It's in that unspoken strength that says, you don't need to know everything about me to feel my presence. The people who move with quiet purpose, who protect their emotional and spiritual boundaries, they're not mysterious for the sake of drama. They're intentional. They understand that not every truth deserves a witness. Not everyone deserves to be seen. When you protect your privacy, you build emotional armor. You stop bleeding in front of people who wouldn't even offer you a bandage. You begin to walk differently with peace, not performance. So today, I want you to remember this silence doesn't make you small. It makes you sacred. Because the moment you stop explaining yourself to everyone, you stop giving them the power to define you, and that's where your real strength begins. Let's be honest, we've all done it. We've shared our hearts with people who didn't deserve access. We've told our dreams to those who secretly hoped we'd fail. We've revealed our wounds to people who only came close enough to touch them, not heal them. And each time we overshare, a piece of us grows smaller. Not because we were weak, but because we handed out fragments of our truth to people who didn't know how to hold it. You see, oversharing often comes from a desperate need to be seen, to be understood. We think that if we let people in, they'll value us more. But the cruel reality is some people only gather your stories to use them against you. They remember your vulnerability, not with compassion, but with strategy. When you overshare, you lose something sacred, your mystery, your emotional center, your peace. Because not everyone listening wants the best for you. Some are just curious, some are judgmental, and some are quietly waiting for the perfect moment to remind you of the things you once confessed in trust. The truth is, not everyone deserves front row seats to your life. Some people should only see the highlights, never the backstage. And here's what happens when you stop oversharing. You start feeling lighter. You start noticing who stays even when they don't have access to your pain. Those are your people, the ones who love you for your energy, not your information. Protecting your privacy isn't coldness, it's wisdom. It's the recognition that your story isn't free. It's sacred currency, and only those who've earned your trust should ever be allowed to hold it. Because when you keep certain parts of yourself private, you're not hiding, you're healing. There's a kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't post, doesn't explain. It simply exists. That's the power of silence, the kind that doesn't need validation to feel real. You see, silence terrifies people who thrive on noise. They mistake your quiet for weakness because they can't read you, can't predict you, can't place you neatly into their box of assumptions. But that's exactly why silence is powerful. It keeps them guessing while you keep growing. When you stop announcing every move, your energy shifts. You begin operating from a place of intention, not insecurity. You stop giving people the opportunity to interfere with what's still forming inside you. Because not every dream is ready for daylight. Some need the dark, the stillness to take root. Silence is not the absence of words. It's the presence of control. It's the pause between reaction and response. It's the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needs to prove their worth. When you hold your silence, you choose peace over performance. You realize not everything deserves a reaction. Not every insult deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves a response. That's emotional maturity, knowing that silence doesn't mean surrender, it means self-respect. People who live loudly often crave validation, but those who found peace within themselves, they speak less, observe more, and move smarter. So the next time you're tempted to explain yourself, remember this, your silence is not emptiness, it's power contained. And when you learn to sit comfortably in that silence, you'll find something extraordinary. The world gets quieter, but your soul grows louder. Let's talk about boundaries. The invisible lines that protect your peace, your sanity, and your self-worth. They're not walls meant to keep people out. They're gates that decide who gets in and how far they're allowed to go. Here's the thing, when you don't guard your emotional boundaries, people will take more than you offer. They'll mistake your openness for availability, your kindness for weakness, your empathy for permission. And before you know it, you're drained, emotionally bankrupt, wondering why your energy feels so heavy. Boundaries are not selfish. They are sacred. They're how you teach people how to love you, how to respect you, and how to treat you. Without them, you become an emotional sponge, absorbing everyone else's chaos while neglecting your own calm. Some people won't like your boundaries because they benefited from your lack of them. But the moment you say, this is not okay, you reclaim your power. You stop trying to rescue people who are comfortable in their own dysfunction. You stop saying yes when your soul is screaming no. And here's the truth most people miss. Protecting your privacy starts with emotional boundaries. It's not just about what you share. It's about who gets access to your energy, your time, your presence. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your heart. You can love deeply and still protect yourself fiercely. You can care about others and still choose yourself first. Because the strongest version of you isn't the one who gives endlessly. It's the one who knows where to stop. Boundaries don't push people away. They filter out those who were never meant to stay. And in that quiet protection, you'll find something rare, peace that doesn't need permission. There's a deep calm that comes when you stop letting the world in on everything you feel, think, or plan. That calm is called inner peace, and it begins where privacy begins. When you protect your privacy, you protect your mind from the noise of unnecessary opinions. You protect your heart from being dissected by people who were never meant to understand it. You protect your dreams from being crushed by the weight of others' doubts. Peace isn't found in the spotlight. It's found in the quiet corners where your soul can breathe without judgment. And yet, we've been conditioned to believe that visibility equals worth, that if no one knows what we're doing, it must not be valuable. But some of the most powerful growth happens in silence, when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when it's just you and your truth. Privacy is not isolation, it's alignment. It's saying, I choose to keep what's sacred, sacred. It's choosing stillness over validation, clarity over noise, and purpose over performance. Here's the irony. The more private you become, the more peaceful you feel. And the more peaceful you feel, the more powerful your presence becomes. People can sense it. They can't explain it, but they feel it. That quiet, steady energy that doesn't need to prove itself. Peace grows in protected spaces. It grows when you stop explaining your healing process, your progress, your pain. It grows when you stop performing your peace for an audience that thrives on chaos. So protect your privacy like it's oxygen, because it is. It's what allows you to exhale in a world that constantly wants to invade your silence. And once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never give anyone the power to disturb it again. There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't reveal everything. You know the kind, they walk into a room calm, grounded, unreadable. They don't rush to speak, don't overshare, don't seek attention. And somehow their quiet draws everyone in. That's the strength of being mysterious, the power that comes from restraint. It being mysterious doesn't mean being fake. It means being selective. It means you understand that not everyone deserves access to your depths. It's not arrogance. It's awareness. You know that your energy, your story, your essence, they're sacred. And sacred things aren't meant for display. They're meant to be protected. When you stop explaining yourself, you create curiosity. When you stop oversharing, you create respect. Because mystery commands attention. It makes people lean in instead of tune out. The less you reveal, the more they wonder. And that's where your quiet power lies. People often misunderstand mystery as emotional distance, but it's not that. It's emotional discipline. You've simply learned that not everyone is safe with your truth. You've learned that silence doesn't disconnect you. It shields you. And here's what's beautiful about it. When you live with mystery, you regain control of your narrative. No one can twist your words, misuse your honesty, or define you by fragments of what they think they know. You hold the pen. You choose what's written and what's left unsaid. Mystery doesn't make you unreachable. It makes you unforgettable. Because the world is full of people trying to be seen, but very few who have mastered the art of being felt. So stay mysterious. Let them sense your presence, not consume your story. Because the strongest people aren't the loudest in the room. They're the ones who know when silence says everything. Here's a truth that will save you from years of disappointment. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves your time, your trust, or your truth. We live in a world that glorifies connection, but real strength comes from discernment, from knowing who's earned the right to sit close and who belongs at a distance. Because when you give everyone access, you dilute your energy, you give your peace away in fragments until there's nothing left for yourself. Access is a privilege, not a right. Yet so many of us hand it out freely to people who gossip, to people who drain us, to people who only come around when they need something, and we call it kindness. But that's not kindness. That's self-abandonment dressed as generosity. You need to remember this. Your space is sacred. Your energy is not public property. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your heart just because they ask for it. Let them earn it. Let them prove through consistency, respect, and genuine care that they can handle it. The wrong people will always demand access, while the right ones will honor your boundaries without question. They'll understand that your privacy isn't rejection. It's protection. It's you saying, I've worked too hard for my peace to hand it over easily. When you start limiting access, something powerful happens. You start attracting quality over quantity. Fewer people, deeper bonds, stronger trust. And when you move with that energy, quiet, intentional, grounded, people start realizing something. Your absence speaks louder than most people's presence. So protect your circle, guard your heart. Because not everyone deserves to know the whole story. Some only deserve a headline. There's a certain kind of confidence that doesn't need an audience, doesn't need applause, doesn't need to prove anything. It just is. That's quiet confidence. And it's one of the rarest, most powerful forms of strength you'll ever carry. Quiet confidence whispers instead of shouts. It doesn't announce itself. It simply walks into the room and shifts the atmosphere. It's the kind of presence that doesn't beg to be seen because it already knows its worth. This kind of confidence is born from self-trust, from knowing that even if no one believes in you, you do. Even if no one claps, you'll keep building. Even if no one understands your vision, you'll protect it anyway. Quiet confidence says, I don't need to be the loudest person in the room. I just need to be the most grounded. It's not about arrogance. It's about assurance. It's knowing who you are so deeply that other people's opinions can't shake you. When you embrace quiet confidence, you stop chasing validation. You stop explaining your choices. You stop defending your peace. Because confidence isn't in what you show. It's in what you withhold. It's in the way you stay centered when everything around you tries to pull you off balance. And here's the secret. People respect quiet confidence. They may not always say it out loud, but they feel it. They sense that unspoken authority, that grounded presence that comes from someone who doesn't need attention to feel powerful. You don't have to announce your worth. Your energy already does that. So stand tall, walk steady, speak when it matters, and let your silence do the rest. Because the loudest person in the room might get noticed, but the quiet one gets remembered. Healing is one of the most sacred journeys you'll ever take, and it's one that doesn't need an audience. The world teaches us to share every step, to post our pain, to prove our progress. But real healing, it happens in private. It happens when no one is watching. When you choose to heal in silence, that you create a space where your soul can breathe without judgment, without pressure, without performance. You stop needing to explain why you're hurting, how far you've come, or what you're still learning to let go of. You simply allow yourself to be. Healing through privacy means giving yourself permission to process without interruption. It means not turning your pain into content. It means understanding that your growth doesn't need validation. It needs protection, because when you expose your healing too soon, you risk inviting opinions that can reopen your wounds. People will try to interpret your pain through their lens, not yours. And suddenly, what was sacred becomes contaminated by misunderstanding and noise. Privacy allows your healing to take shape naturally. It gives your emotions the dignity they deserve. It gives your transformation time to solidify before it faces the world. And here's the beauty: when you heal privately, the world doesn't see your breakdown. It sees your breakthrough. They don't see the nights you cried, the prayers you whispered, the promises you made to yourself. They just see the glow that comes after you rise. So don't rush to prove your healing. Protect it, nurture it, let it grow in silence. Because healing is not meant to be witnessed. It's meant to be felt. And when the time comes, your peace will speak louder than any story you could ever tell. Let's end with the truth that ties it all together. Privacy is power. It's the invisible armor that shields your peace, your energy, and your purpose from a world that constantly tries to take pieces of you. When you choose privacy, you're not withdrawing, you're mastering yourself. You're learning that the most powerful people aren't the ones who broadcast every detail of their lives, but the ones who protect what truly matters. Yeah. They understand that their emotions, their goals, their healing, and their relationships don't need an audience to be real. Privacy gives you clarity, it gives you authority, it gives you peace. Because when no one knows your next move, no one can interfere with it. When no one knows your weaknesses, no one can use them. When no one has access to your private world, your energy remains pure, untouched by gossip, judgment, or comparison. And maybe that's the lesson we all need right now: to live more quietly, to love more intentionally, and to rise more privately. Because the strongest moves are often made in silence. The greatest transformations happen behind closed doors. And the deepest peace comes when you stop explaining yourself and simply live your truth. So protect your privacy like it's sacred, because it is. Keep your plans close, your emotions guarded, and your energy clean. Let people see your growth, but never your process. Let them feel your presence, but never know your every step. And one day, when they wonder how you became so grounded, so powerful, so peaceful, smile and say, nothing. Because the real power was never in being understood. It was always in being undisturbed,